Hey everybody, how are you today? This is the Monday Minutia in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Thank you for joining us on this Memorial Day as we pay respects for those fallen soldiers who helped build this country and keep it secure. We salute all of you. We're going to get back here in a couple of seconds talking about the trifecta for the Atlanta Falcon fans, your favorite player, coach, and your favorite season. And also, when you talk about the not the Atlanta Falcons, you're talking about entertainment, musical artists you'd like to see make a comeback. We'll define that when we come back. Y'all come on and sit down and join us. What is going on, everyone? How are you doing today? This is your Uncle Steve, and we are in Uncle Steve's Lounge. If you haven't been here before, thank you for joining us today. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, Uncle Steve's Lounge. We've been here for a second. Appreciate you joining us. If you are a longtime listener, a watcher, or a chatter, make sure you like the video so we can get this bad boy spread out into the algorithm and get everyone else hooked up into the lounge here with your Uncle Steve. How's everyone been doing? It has been a really nice weekend. Weather-wise, it's been kind of off and on. I know we had a little bit of rain down here if you're in the metro Atlanta area. A little rain here and there, but for the most part, it's been pretty warm. And so it hasn't been what you call a washout. Like you can still go out. Did a lot of barbecuing on Saturday. Had some folks over yesterday and enjoyed some family time. And then today, getting ready to wind back into getting into the week coming up. So I said, you know what? This is usually the Monday minutia. It is Monday. So we're going to sit here and we're going to talk Falcons football. And on today, while we're kind of, going back in the down memory lane on a lot of things uh, with our team, I was posted a question at one time when someone asked me who was my favorite coach of all time, and I thought about it, and I know who it is, but I'll get to that in a second. And then I started thinking about that true fandom where you root for the Atlanta Falcons, but man, in your heart of hearts, you have a sometimes you have a different type player, different type coach, and we don't exactly agree sometimes on your favorite season. Because when it comes to the Falcons season, naturally everyone's going to jump to the Super Bowl years, which is 1998, 2016. And I understand that excitement, winning team, all of that. But maybe there was a special season that birthed you into the Falcon hood with this team. And for me, that year was 1980. That 1980 season, um, Steve Bartkowski Wallace Francis, Alfred Jenkins, Alfred Jackson, Grits Blitz defense, just all doing their thing. And that was the first significant year where the Atlanta Falcons were not, the joke of the league. Now, we had just hit what is that would have been 14 years of existence, and that was only our second playoff year. But that year was the first time we won the division. We had just gone to the playoffs 2 years prior. But this year for me was just special because this was the first time I got an opportunity to not only get the vibe of the city and how much they really cared about the Atlanta Falcons, but from a national standpoint, and no, ESPN wasn't as prominent. I think they just got started, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was a year later. But you didn't get that whole national vibe until we went 12-4 that year, and until Steve Bartkowski and company did some things that year. So 1980 is always going to be a special year for me as a Falcon fan, as much as I lived and died by 1998, and the same thing for 2016. There was no other season to me that just grasped me. And again, youngster back then, but that was a special year, man. That was a good one. So the trifecta question is player, coach, and season. So I went with the season first, unfortunately. So I'll go with the player. My favorite player is William Andrews. I've always kind of pointed that out. He was, even though Steve Bartkowski was absolutely solid for us during that time, I felt like our team didn't make that extra push until we got that bell cow running back that the other teams you had to go and look at Tony Dorsett in Dallas, and Franco Harris in Pittsburgh, Chuck Foreman at the Vikings, Larry Zonka at the Dolphins, and every other team had that guy. But we didn't have that guy. And no disrespect to Haskell Standback and Bubba Bean and Dave Hampton and those cats back there. But when William Andrews got to tote the ball for the Atlanta Falcons, it turned into a whole different thing. So for me, that was my favorite player in franchise history. Mike Smith uh, doesn't get, in my opinion, the love he should. I know a lot of people think more about how that tenure ended, but he did some really good things, man, to get this team started. Now, again, you started with a young Matt Ryan. That's cool. But you made the playoffs in year one. And for a head coach to do that, that's pretty impressive. I mean, first time head coach, not a retread or anything like that. First time head coach, for you to jump right into the fray and be able to uh, start off 11-5 with a rookie quarterback. And that's some pretty good stuff right there. So I've always thought he got like the shorty end of the stick. Now I know playoff success does matter, and he did only win one playoff game, but you can't win a playoff game till you get to the playoffs. So as far as that coach that could coach during the regular season and get us there, Mike Smith was that guy. Wish he could have had another opportunity. I think on the 2014 season, just went kind of left on us a little bit. A lot of injuries and things like that. And, he didn't get a chance to, you know, come back to that team because I think we would have been winning the year before we went to the Super Bowl, quite honestly, in 2015. But no regrets because we did what we did. So that's the trifecta. You have your favorite player, coach, and season as far as the Atlanta Falcons is concerned. And also to put our pop culture question, as we normally do during the weekend, I was looking at a lot of the folks that they've had recently on TV showing like Cher, coming on, and you see them, and Elton John ending up his final concert and stuff like that. And I started thinking about artists, not necessarily from another generation, but just artists you'd like to see make a comeback. And I, man, I know he won't come out with the music that he made in the 70s and 80s, but how can you not like anything from Stevie Wonder? I would love to see him make a quality, yeah, if I don't make another great album, this is it type of CD. So it would be great if you could see him make one last run as an artist. So for those of you who have musical taste, uh, who is a musical artist or group you'd like to see make a comeback? I was a big um, Boys to Men guy, and I know they still sing and they still tour and do their things, but I like to see them hit the charts with one good CD, one more good CD. Not so much a concert. We see them in concert all the time, but just one more CD just to put them over the top. And those are the type of groups I would I would really like to see make a comeback. So um, that's the question. Sports question: Falcons player, coach, and season, and then musical artist or group you'd like to see make a comeback. Let's go over here into the chat and see how everyone's doing. First of all, we have Miss Barbara in the house. How are you, ma'am? Thank you so much for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge, where you all could have been anywhere else, but you're here with me, so I appreciate it. She says, Julio Jones, 2016, Dan Reeves. Hello, everyone. And I know Dan Reeves is one of those coaches. You know what it is about Dan Reeves, Barbara? You know why? I was never a huge Dan Reeves guy. And I think because I used to see him with Denver so much that for me, he he represents Denver in my eyes. And I know, yeah, he had a nice run here in Atlanta, obviously taking us one step from the championship. I'll always be grateful for what he did back then. But yeah, I don't know why, but I give him his respect. I think he might be the I've probably put him third on my list. I have probably Mike Smith first, Lehman Bennett second, and then I'll put Dan Reeves at third. How can you go wrong with Julio Jones as your favorite player? Um, my son and I were discussing Hall of Fame traits as we were going through that little debate we had last week about whether Matt Ryan was Hall of Fame worthy at this time. Julio Jones, there's no question. And obviously the magical season of 2016 that we all got a chance to witness here. Barbara also says, hate that about Acuna, but in 2021, Acuna and Strider were both hurt. Uh, uh, World Series season 2, Ronnie and Spencer are truly missed. Yeah, I did not, when I saw it and he got up, a lot of people say, well, he got up, he walked. Yeah, you can actually do a lot on a torn ACL if you can. So I immediately saw people like, no, he's up. He said it's a little sore. I said, yeah, that didn't look right the way that twisted on him. So yeah, sorry to hear that about him. But if it's one thing we know about Alex Anthopoulos from the Atlanta Braves, is he got a backup plan somewhere. And don't be surprised if he makes a move in the next couple of weeks to kind of solidify that outfield. Now, I know the natural inclination to say, well, just throw Adam Duvall out there, put Clatenic on the other side, and keep Big Money Mike in the middle. But Yeah, I think you go get somebody, man. You might have to someone might have to be the sacrificial lamb. I don't think we have that much in the farm system to give away now, but yeah, that's a tough deal. Tough deal for Acuna. But I just still feel like the Braves are gonna be fine. I know looking at the score right now, I think there was an eight to well, they have come back and scored four runs, but uh I'm not worried about the Braves. Talk to me in August. As you stated, we've done this before. I'm not that super worried about the Braves because I think they leadership wise, I think they're gonna be fine. David, what's going on, sir? Thank you for joining us. Happy Memorial Day to you. And again, for those in some way, form, or fashion, whether it's someone closely related to you or distantly related, uh, you someone lost their life to protect this country and wore the uniform, and we salute those that have done that. April Thomas is here. That's my brother Ron is in the house. What's going on, sir? Thank you for joining us again. Barbara also says, Happy Memorial Day. Thank you for the heroes that made the ultimate sacrifice. Continue to rest well. Amen. David says, I was indoctrinated into this fan base in 1980, but the special season for me was 1991. Prime was still here, and we beat those bums in their house in the playoffs, beating the Saints, one of the best seasons ever. I, you know, one of the reasons it's not that I don't um, have a great feeling about the 1991 season. Unfortunately, that was the Desert Storm year, so I didn't get a chance to really uh, kind of get into the year like I wanted to. And by the time the dust had settled, the Falcons, we were, I was kind of like the laughing stock in the military. Matter of fact, that was a really good year because that was the Falcons and the Braves in that year in 1991. And I just remember the passion hometown wise. It was like maybe four of us, and we were on the West Coast at the time. And more people were probably into the Braves, quite honestly, at that, and we had a more realistic chance of winning the championship that year. Because the Braves were everybody wanted the Braves to win against Minnesota, with the exception of probably Minnesota folks. But that was a huge year. Now, um, we got a chance to see a little bit of what was going on, but I honestly did not even get to see any of the season games until late, and I caught the uh, exciting playoff game against the New Orleans Saints, where we got a chance to knock them off. But yeah, that was a really good year. Jamal is in the house. What's going on, sir? Why am I trying to be? Man, I'm trying to give you your props, brother. Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. We appreciate it. Uh, David says, favorite player has to be Matt Ryan. At no other time in our history have we enjoyed consistent success than we have with him at the helm. And there is no argument with that. No argument whatsoever. Matt Ryan, as I've told people before, I'm going to give him his flowers because he is the most important Atlanta Falcons. I'm not saying he's the most talented. I'm not saying he's the most decorated, but he was the most important Atlanta Falcon in our franchise history because he was at the helm of 6 of our playoff years. He had an MVP season. So I am going to give him all the love in the world for what he did for us at that time. But yeah, Matt was that guy. Uh, Barbara says, "Come back, Lauren Hill." You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. There was a list, and I'm gonna pull that up, and we're gonna talk sports, y'all. So I don't want anybody to think we're not gonna talk sports. But let me give y'all this list. This was funny to me. Uh, and as somebody who really kind of goes all around when you start talking about uh genres, rock, pop, grunge, soul, country, whatever. I kind of try to have a vast knowledge of what we're listening to. So they came out with this list, the Apple Music, and this is tying into Barbara's answer. They said of the 100 best albums of all time. Say it again, of all time. Somebody is convinced, folks, that the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is the best of all time. We'll throw this up here real quick, and like I said, continue to put your sports answers down there. And this is the list. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which is a great album, no doubt, no debate. Love that album. Uh, I mean, doo-wop, that thing. Uh, that was the other song. Was the I'm losing my mind, but it had a lot of good cuts on that album. The song with D'Angelo was on there. Really good album. But I'm looking right below that, and I see Michael Jackson Thriller. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that wasn't even my favorite Michael Jackson album, but I know that was better than Lauryn Hill. As a Beatles fan, Abbey Road was awesome. Great album. Purple Rain, which is a great Falcon. I'm a fake Falcon. Is a great album, but probably not even my favorite Prince album. But I think it was much better. Blonde by Frank Ocean, and I love some Frank Ocean. And I'm not even sure that was my favorite Frank Ocean album. This Channel Orange was awesome. Stevie Wonder at number 6. I can probably live with that because Stevie's my favorite, but I'm not naive. As long as you put him in the top 10, I'm happy. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. I'm not the hugest Kendrick Lamar guy, but that was actually not bad. Amy Winehouse, number 8 all time. All time. Love me some Rehab, but all time, nah. One of the most underrated albums of all time, Nevermind by Nirvana. I can listen to that day and night. And again, having spent some time in the Pacific Northwest for right around the time they were blowing up, it's kind of hard not to favor them. And kind of laughable, Beyonce Lemonade at number 10. Love Beyonce. Not I'll say love. Like Beyonce a lot, but not top 10 of all time. So just something I brought up when you said that. But having Lauryn Hill come back and make an album would be great. But that is not the number 1 album of all time. So he said David says favorite coach was Dan Reeves. A few bad breaks messed him up from consistently winning here. Yeah, and like I said, giving Dan Reeves all the love in the world, I just could never associate him with Atlanta. He's always going to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos to me, and I just gotta stay there with that. He says, "Artist comeback, Big Daddy Kane." That would be now. I don't know, David. Did you hear the little? He did a song with Morris Day. Uh, what was it called? Grown folks, something. I'm gonna have to remember what that was. Hopefully, I can pull it up. But uh, that was a pretty good little cut he had. And Tara Moody, what's going on? Great to have you here with us again. Oh, there we go. Hey, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. He said, David, a few bad breaks. You mean the bad breaks being Arthur Blank? Any unfortunate thing that happened to Blake, I always call Dan Reed's revenge. Yeah, look, man. You know what it was, man? That was ego. And probably by both. Dan Reeves, with a wealth of knowledge and all of the coaching acumen he's gathered up over the years. Arthur Blank flexing a little bit. Remember, this wasn't an 80-year-old Arthur. This was, just hitting his 60s Arthur Blank. And he didn't want Dan Reeves to get all the headlines. He didn't want Dan Reeves to get all the love. So, the little battle of the minds to me. He also says his favorite coach was Dan Reeves as well. Blank did him wrong. You could say that, but you know what? Also, I look at it like this, my friend. If you buy a company that's already got a chief financial officer in place, and you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm gonna let y'all roll like you want to roll, and I'll let you keep your job, but I'm the owner. And in order for me to put my fingerprint on my company, I'm gonna have to fire that person who is calling the shots. And at that time, it was Dan Reeves. And I think that's what it was. It was a power play for Arthur Blank. Right or wrong, it was a power play. My only argument a lot with the Dan Reeves situation, as much as I know people want to wax poetic a lot about him, but I mean, I'm kind of looking back here, y'all. I mean, Dan Reeves, he went to the playoffs 2 times. He did. The Mike Vick year was amazing that he made it that year. But uh, I mean, he's all right. He's all right. You know. Barbara says, I would agree about that about Lauryn Hill. I saw her in concert years ago and she was fabulous. And again, I love Lauryn Hill. Matter of fact, I like Lauryn Hill better than I like Beyonce. Truth be told. As blasphemous as that might be. But I was just thinking that album as a whole was, to me, wasn't wasn't a all-time number one. Maybe that year that it came out, it was probably number one that year. Top 25, maybe. But I just say all time, and my all time might be different from other people's all time. So that could also be a factor. We will see. Dexter's in the house. What's up, Dexter? How you doing, sir? He said, if I list my players by position, Matt, Roddy Coleman, Grimes, and Norwood, just to name a few. Favorite player is the Ice, though, and I didn't even want to draft him. Now I'm a Ryan. Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, he had to make everyone, a believer. There, folks still to this day try to act like they didn't want Glenn Dorsey. Oh, they were calling for Glenn Dorsey here big time. Oh, we'll just ride it out with Chris Redman. Bring in Glenn Dorsey. We'll fix up the defense. Give Atlanta credit. Give Dimitrov credit for talking them into getting that player. So give them a lot of credit for that. That's Not a bad choice, my friend. David says another artist I would like to see make a comeback is D'Angelo. What could he have been if he got off the heroin? And when he came back with was that Black Messiah that he had with the Vanguard and won the two Grammys for that? The one with I'm really in love with you. That album. That that was that was a nice little comeback, and I know that was 10 plus years ago. But yeah, it would be nice for him to make one more comeback. That would be cool. Antara says Mariah Carey was the white woman with the amazing black woman voice of the 90s. The 80s black woman voice was undoubtedly Annie Lennox, the Eurythmics. Great call both ways. Uh, I would, I'm gonna tell you what, I would even go as far to say the 2000s. I know Adele is a different type of singer. Hey, y'all don't sleep on Kelly Clarkson, man. When she first came, when that girl, we were talking about American Idol, they just did the finale, was it last week or whatever it was? She came out there and did Natural Woman from Aretha Franklin. I was like, oh, that girl sing. She's up there. And I know she kind of stretches her wings out a little bit. She does a little pop, little country, but yeah, don't sleep on her with some soul music either. She's definitely in a different package, but she got some talent. Dwayne in the house. What's up, Dwayne? How you doing? Thank you for joining us in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Just chilling out on a Memorial Day Monday, trying to just talk a little bit of Falcons before we go into the week. And y'all know we're getting ready to go into a nice dead period here. Yeah, they're gonna have a mini cap here and mini cap there, but we getting ready to really hit the dead spot until probably July. And now, of course, since they're not doing the camps for the public, except for twice, it's really going to be long. So that's great. How do y'all feel about that? By the way, I've been hearing uh, a lot of negativity about the Falcons making that decision. I really don't have that much of a problem with it. Now I've been to camps. I've been to Falcons camps over the years, and while it's a great experience and everything like that, and to be able to kind of, uh, you know, rub elbows with some of the real Falcon fans up there in Flowery Branch, and even back in our day at Swanee, it was a cool thing. But I don't know if I'm gonna lose too much sleep not being able to go out there. I think maybe what it is because I know we were just coming off the pandemic years where they weren't able to do camp for a couple of years, and then they kind of just kicked it back in 22, I believe it was. I don't think they did anything in 21, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but maybe that's what it is. I'm not losing much sleep over it. I think we'll be all right. And Tar says Dan Reeves is why we got you mean Mike Vick, not Mick Vick. Some people might take offense to that. But yes, Mike Vick. Yeah, and that's probably true. That's true. And some might argue if Dan Reeves had stayed around, maybe the maturity of Mike Vick would have been quicker instead of going in the direction that it did. So I yeah, I mean I'm cool with that, with him getting Mike Vick, but I'm still kind of I mean, he did that. He got us to the Super Bowl. Lord knows, but so did Dan Quinn. I was trying to I'm gonna put it in that same category. I know I'm not telling you Dan Quinn is the same coach as Dan Reeves. I'm just saying as far as Falcon, as far as the Falcons are concerned, I'm gonna pull this up and not for gotcha moments, but this is it. Dan Reeves got here in 1997. Now we were 7-9 that first year. Give him credit. 14-2. Really one of the quietest 14-2 years in NFL history. Now, obviously, we know how that ended. But then this is what Dan Reeves did. 1999, 5-11. 2000, 4-12. There was a reason why we were able to get Mike Vick. 2001, where Mike Vick did not start until the end of the year. We were 7-9. We did have the wild card year of 2002 with 9-6-1, and then of course 2003. That's really not Dan Reeves' fault. Uh, Mike Vick got hurt, and pretty much you can't blame that on him. But I don't know, y'all. I just kind of hard. I'm not waxing poetic about him, but I get it. I get why people like him though. So that's cool. Dexter says Mike Vick was my favorite coach of all time. I don't know why when we hire a DC as a head coach, they never produce us a dominant defense. Let's hope Morris can change that. And I guess the one caveat with Morris is that he's kind of coached on both sides a little bit now. But to your point, he was primarily a defensive coach. So let's hope he can bring us some better days and brighter days. MW franchise players in the house. What's going on, sir? Hashtag rise up indeed. Thank y'all again for joining us in Uncle Steve's Lounge. We're just chilling, like seriously, not even just talking a little bit of Falcons, a little bit of music here. Who you guys would like to see make a comeback? Got some good names coming up there so far, so continue to add that in for us. David says reports say that Penix Jr. has been really spinning the ball in OTAs. Would love for them to open up practices to get a look, to get an up close look for how the ball comes out of his hands. I don't even think it's necessary, David. Look, you know what? And I know you want to see him, so I'm not saying that. Here's the deal. Michael Penix by far is the best quarterback we've drafted since Matt Ryan. So I don't think it's going to be any argument about the talent level that he's going to bring with us. We have been so decimated in that room since, quite honestly, even before the last year of Matt. We were just looking for any type of real talent. Michael Penix is real talent. Now, I know there are still people that have a hard time with the draft decisions, and that's fine. I no problem with that. But I just want Mike to sit back and watch, man. Let's hope Kirk Cousins stays injury free as much as he can. And let him soak in the speed, let him soak in the situations and things of that nature. Give him the year that Ritter got, and you don't have to throw him into the mix. Because if you throw Michael Penix in there too early, I feel like that could be potentially harmful for him. Let's hope and pray that Kirk Cousins can make it through this season. Hope to give us a success, maybe make it through another season, and then we'll see where things go. I'm still thinking that's a great move. Even if he doesn't play a down until 26, that's fine by me. Atara said, yeah, LOL. I meant Mike. Yeah, listen, I didn't want to. I'm the last person to talk about spelling because my spelling is all jacked up. But yeah, I appreciate that. That's all good. ATL Skate Man's here. What is going on? Say hello, Uncle Steve. I look back when we start talking about some of the past seasons, um, and I haven't heard a lot of you guys mention that, and I want to hear some of the seasons. They don't necessarily have to be the Super Bowl season, so I'm not asking what the most successful Falcon season is. I'm asking what was your favorite season. Mine is, in a lot of people's eyes, a season that's not to remember. But you can't tell me in 1980. I still to this day, 1998 included, 2016 included. I still feel like the 1980 team for the Atlanta Falcons was the most talented, stacked team we've ever had in franchise history. And I know a lot of people may not have been around during that time. That's fine. But if you get a chance, go look. Shoot, we had a Christmas song about the Atlanta Falcons during the 1980 season. They tried to one up the Chicago Bears before they came out with the shuffle, but we did. Dexter says, "Is anybody still tripping that over that Penix pick? Might as well get over that." Like the dude said on Coming to America when the dude was singing, "He good. That boy good. That boy's good." I saw Coming to America about 3 weeks ago. As and funny when that movie came out, critics were killing him. They killed Eddie Murphy. That's one of the best movies he ever had, man. Best movies. Keenan, what's going on? Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. I appreciate you. He said, "What's up, Unc? Do you see us utilizing Tyler Algier this year? He's my favorite player right now." That is a good question. Um, Tyler Algier, I think, is going to get a lot of run with Zach Robinson. And one of the reasons I think so, if you remember, Zach Robinson didn't really, I know they ended up using the little rookie with the Rams a lot last year, but they weren't solely dependent on one running back. And I also feel like I think Tyler Algier will get the ball purely just as much as Bijan did. Bijan is going to be that get in the slot, in motion. He's going to be that type of running back. All purpose yards. If he stays healthy, Bijan Robinson should come close to 2K. If he stays healthy. And if that's the case, Tyler Algier should benefit. Now, I will say this, Keenan, and I'm not trying to rain on your parade for Tyler. I think this might be his last year as an Atlanta Falcon. And I'm going to explain that to you, not because I don't love the kid. This is his third year. As we know, he wasn't a first round pick and nor second. So next year will be his last season with the Falcons under contract. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, you may have to be proactive. If Bijan continues to improve, you notice we got Jace from Alabama this year. If you do what you're supposed to do this year and have the running game that you have, you might have to trade Tyler Algier before he just walks out and goes on the free agent market. And I don't think for somebody as talented as him, it's not like he's not going to draw attention. Will it be second round, third round? Probably not. But just in case we get in a little trouble from the Kirk Cousins open mouth tampering this year, you may be trading Tyler for a draft pick. I hope they don't, but it just makes too much sense. I don't know if they're I just don't know if you would re-sign him right now if he's not your number one number one running back. And right now he's not. He's a super compliment to what's going on in Atlanta, but the business part is gonna have to rear its ugly head. But I would love to keep him around. Yeah, that was a great question, my brother. That was. He said that 1980 team was fire, man. Let me tell you something. Uh, only time, and again, I was 11, 12, 11. Only time I shed tears in the game. Up, up by 2 scores against Dallas, and freaking Danny White comes back and destroys us, man. Yeah, brother, that was tough. That season probably built up my skin to not get as ticked off with the Falcons. That year was the year that did it for me. The expectations were high. We were the number 1 seed. We would have played one more game in Fulton County Stadium had we won. Had we finished the drill against Dallas. Man, that was crazy. Matt Town Dirty's in the house. What's up, Matt Town? How you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us in Uncle Steve's Lounge. And Tara says, unfortunately, concerning Tyler Algier, I believe you're correct. He is commodity. And that's how you have to look at it, brother. And it's not, and keep in mind, there's nothing in my tone saying, get rid of Tyler Algier. I'm saying, this is the business part that you hate. But you're not going to be able to keep the young man from Alabama, Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier, unless you plan on signing Tyler Algier to a very team-friendly deal. But if you look at Algier, I'm trying to see what is. Hold on, I'm about to pull it up. 2023, and let's look at our buddy Tyler Algier. Okay, Tyler Algier. I'm gonna share this with y'all. We're not gonna just take your comment down right here. Let's look at Tyler Algier right quick. And for some people, this is Pro Football Reference, by the way. And some people might sniff at that, but look at the 2023. Obviously, he had the 1,000-yard season, 4.9 a carry. Last year it went down a little bit, but they were clearly trying to get the ball to Bijan, but still not bad, 3.7. So in 2 years, you have a running back in the NFL that got you 1,718 yards. You play for the Atlanta Falcons, so you're not going to get a lot of touchdowns, unfortunately. You got 7. Still, that's some really good numbers, man. I just don't think you're going to be able to keep them around. And more importantly, with some of the contracts we coming up with, you're not going to be able to pay him. So next year, I say this year, this might be the last year y'all see him. Keenan says that would suck if he goes. Yeah, big time suck. Big time. That's a hard dude to get down when he start rolling. Remember a couple of those games last year? If y'all ever go to the game, Ryan Cameron does a great job up there at the booth. And he has his thing when Tyler makes a good run. It's like, give the ball to Tyler. When he's on his rumbles, love it. Brother Kenneth is in the house. What's up, Kenneth? How you doing, sir? He said, how many thought we were going to the playoffs last year? Let us know. Well, let me preface that by saying I really did think we were going, Kenneth. I wasn't fooled into thinking we were going to win 12 games because of the quarterback situation. But I still thought in the NFC South, we had a good enough team in spite of our buddy Desmond to win the division. So I really did think we were going to make it last year. I'm not going to sit here and try to act like now that it's over with. Oh no, I never thought. No, I thought they were going to at least do that. And we were only one game away. One game out, I should say. So it's not well, ended up being 2 games, right? Because we end up 7-10 and they were 9-8. So Jamal says, I would be saying the same thing. Tyler is going to get paid, and I'm going to be extremely happy for him, but it unfortunately won't be here. That's the thing I'm saying. It is. Writing is on the wall. Yeah, and that's just today's NFL. That's not Terry Fontenot saying, I don't want Tyler Algier. But that's the politics, man. Not even politics. That's the business part of this game. Keenan says, what team would he start for though? Um, okay, let's just take a quick look at let's see what teams could probably use him. I'm looking at the NFL right now. Uh Buffalo could make good work out of him. Jets got Bryce Hill, Bryce Hall. They'll be all right. Uh, Shoot, I could see him being a nice backup for Nick Chubb in uh, Cleveland, but not starting. Um, who did Cincinnati? Did Cincinnati pick up somebody or for Joe Mixon? No. Uh, he could start for Jacksonville. He could start. I know Panchero is nice, but shoot, he could probably start for Kansas City. Um, he could start for Denver. Today he could start for the Chargers. Uh, Dallas just re-signed Ezekiel Elliott. I take Tyler right now over Ezekiel. The Giants, even though the Giants just got Barkley, so scratch that. I mean that's about 4 or 5 teams. Like Minnesota, you could start. Uh, Tampa Bay got the young guys, so I know they probably satisfied with that. Excuse me. Um, Arizona. Yeah, he can still start for about 6 or 7 teams. It's not like he's a scrub. I think he could start for a few teams. And Tara, this is where you know somebody that was there back in the day. Yeah, those Alcola can't wait. Those little commercials. I remember those commercials. He said fantastic finishes, right? And it showed Danny White throw for about 2 or 3 seasons after that. I was about 10 years old. I said, yeah, you're right about my age, my friend. Yeah, that was man, that was hard, man. That I was so upset at that game because we did not come through. Absolutely. Oh boy. He says, Jamal says, I don't watch college until the draft is close. But I heard the next running back class is pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, you know, it changes so quickly with especially the running back positions because you got guys that, kind of come out of nowhere and become, household names real quick. I'm just trying to think right now, Jamal. I'm kind of like you. My son is great in this department. He is like super scout. Uh, he tells me about guys coming out of high school and then I'll hear about him a couple of years later. I know the kid that played for Dion last year in Colorado. He told me about him before he even got on the field, and he had a decent year at the beginning and kind of tailed off. Um, he told me about was Quorum, the guy from Michigan. He told me about him a couple of years ago. So yeah, I just have to wait and see uh, what they're coming out with. He said I could see the Colts picking him up, giving him the same room to cut or trade Taylor. That might be that might be a good call. Yeah, in a year or two, I can see that. I could definitely see that. He said, "I will always turn on the television when they showed that play. That game was my baptism into Atlanta losing." And see, quite honestly, the year before, we won the first playoff game we ever played. We played the Philadelphia Eagles in a wild card game, and uh, we won that game. That's the first playoff game ever. Uh, and then we lost to Dallas, ironically, in 1978. Roger Staubach gets hurt, gets hit by Robert Pennywell. They put him out the game. Kind of the same situation. If I'm not mistaken, though, I think Dallas actually had the lead in that game, or we had just taken the lead, and Danny White came in and killed us again. It wasn't like Dallas was a bad team, though. Dallas was 12-4 as well, but we had some tiebreakers over them. But that was a really good team for them too. They were they were very solid as far as the playoffs were concerned. I know it's kind of weird. Um, Everybody mentions that year. No one is there anyone that thinks that 2012 year was pretty special? The only reason I bring that season up is because one, that was the first year that Mike Smith finally won, got the monkey off his back, so to speak, with uh, that win against Seattle. But that was a pretty special year too. Remember, we were 13-3 2 years prior. That was the year that we kind of got exposed against Green Bay. We were 13-3, number one seed, and everybody was, Falcons. They're not a real number one team, and Green Bay came in here and boat raced us uh, that game. And we had a lot to prove that 2012 season, and the Falcons knew it. And we got through the Seattle game. I remember uh, I was upset because not upset. I was happy because you had to choose back then in the Georgia Dome. I had to choose which game I wanted to go to in the playoffs. So I said, should I go to Seattle and then we don't get a chance to go to the NFC Championship, or should I hope and pray that the Falcons pull through and we get that game? And we did get that game, and Falcons, uh, similar to Houston that day in Houston, went up 17-zip, and that's another game that I go back and I watch Julio catch that ball in the corner of the end zone, and quite honestly, I don't watch the rest of the game when I'm talking about highlights. I don't watch them because I can't sit there and put myself through it. Those are games that when I talk about replay, I can't watch the end of the Philadelphia game in 2000. I've watched the one with Michael Vick where he lost the game, because that was a really good Philadelphia team. That wasn't a huge surprise. I cannot watch the New York Giants game where we were leading 2-0, and then the Giants come back. I think it scored the next 28 points or whatever it was. I can't watch the second half of the San Francisco game where we let Colin Kaepernick and company come back and walk us in, because I still think in my heart of hearts we would have beat that Baltimore team. That Baltimore team was not the super. super duper defense that they had a few years before. And I think with our running game and Tony Gonzalez, uh, we would have been able to really do some things in that Super Bowl in New Orleans. We would have played in New Orleans, which everybody was talking about. Uh, Obviously, I can't watch the Super Bowl. It's a tough watch. Every time I look at the highlights and I watch on NFL Network or on the NFL Plus, I get to the Robert Alford pick six, and I don't watch another play. I really don't. I I don't. It's almost like I try to erase it out of my head every time I see it. It's a tough uh it's a tough watch. I'm trying to look at the Philadelphia. I mentioned that Philadelphia game the next year. When we had an opportunity to beat Philadelphia, we would have gone up against Case Keenum in the NFC Championship game. That's another one. It's kind of hard to watch. I was actually at a wedding that day. I was at a wedding watching that game, and that was a tough watching. And in the first and goal, and you can't get the ball in the end zone. That's tough. In some ways, I think Dan Reed should have lost his job that year. Antara says, "Yeah, Unc, I'm there with you on those losses. Some games I can't bear to look at." And as a fan, man, it's tough to see your team struggle. I know when everyone was talking about earlier the 1991 season, I think that was David talking about that the prime time year where we beat New Orleans and we were all uh, you know jumping up and down that they beat the Saints to watch them play, and I think it was a muddy game against the Redskins. It was like nasty weather, and we were just way overmanned. And I think the Redskins went on to win the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So that was tough. Antonio, what's going on, man? Good to see you here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Say what's up, Unc? I haven't watched that Super Bowl since that day. It's hard, Antonio. It's hard. That's I am not even joking when I say I haven't watched them. I have. And they used to have it. What they used to be called the game plan. I forgot what it's called. NFL, where you can go back and watch. I promise y'all, every time I watch Alfred go in there, dip in there, make a great read on Tom Brady and run that touchdown back, I have not seen another play. Every time it's on NFL Network, you know how I don't know if y'all have direct TV or not. You know how you could tell like you're in the middle of the game by the little block it's on. If I see it's late in the block, I can't watch it. That stuff is psychological to me, man. I can't watch it. And I didn't cry. I was so stoic at the end of that game because there was a part of me said, now, did you actually think the football gods were gonna let the Falcons win? Did you actually think that? And I think that's how I felt. I also remember we went on a cruise the next week. And boy, you had these annoying New England fans on there. And I was wearing my Falcons stuff as I always do. And man, that was tough. Keenan says I cried after that Super Bowl. I don't blame you, man. That's emotional, man. That's your hey, it is what it is. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I know a lot of people did more than that. So, yeah. Kelvin, what's going on, sir? Tampa Memorial Day says his favorite player is Matt Ryan. Favorite coach is Jerry Glanville. What other coach gonna leave tickets for Elvis? Favorite season 2016. Let me tell you something. And Jerry Glanville doesn't get a lot of credit too, because Jerry Glanville was the DC of those awesome defenses for Atlanta. So as much as people remember him for being the man in black and the Elvis tickets and the, you know, hijinks behind the scenes, Jared Glanville was a great defense coordinator. and he inherited a team that was his personality. He let them play. He let them do their thing, and that yeah, it was either feast or famine with him. Though, like he either let them win, or and they had fun times all the way in, or he, kind of let the inmates run the asylum, and we end up with some bad years. Because I'm looking, I'm trying to go back here. Glanville, really, that was his only successful year. He was 5-11 in 1990 when he took over. Then he was 10-6 the 1991 year. Then he went back down again. 1992, 6-10, 1993, 6-10, and of course they fired him and brought the offensive coordinator in and June Jones, and he same way got one playoff win out of the whole thing. Kenneth says, let's remember Raheem Morris was on that very same team. He was. Absolutely he was. We were talking about that earlier. Absolutely. It said Jerry Glanville was the founder of the grit splits and the black uniform. Well, he wasn't the founder of the black uniforms. He brought them in. They actually wore the black uniforms a couple of times back in the early 70s. So he's the one that actually brought it back in to wear normally. But they actually did wear the black uniforms a couple of times back in the day. Got a mother alert on here. How you doing there, Mom? Thanks for joining us in Uncle Steve's Lounge. She says, Lehman Bennett, as far as the coach is concerned, 1977, 1982, the grit splits defense allowed least amount of points in NFL history. They absolutely did. Alfred Jenkins, William Andrews, Gerald Riggs, Steve Barkowski. No laughter at my age, singer Jerry Butler. Yeah, Jerry Butler. We were talking about that the other day. About yeah, that's I'm gonna tell you what, uh Lehman Bennett was a bad boy. And look, Lehman Bennett took the Falcons to the playoffs uh more than anybody except Mike Smith. We look right here. I'm gonna share this with you. Let's share the screen. Where are we? Falcons right here. So if you see, Lehman Bennett came in 1977, 500 record, 78, 9-7. That was the year our first playoff year in franchise history. Actually won a game against Philadelphia that year, and that was the year we lost. The first year we lost to Dallas uh, because of we knocked off Roger Staubach, and the punter came in and did better. Then 6-10. The next year, a lot of people got hurt that year. I remember that distinctly. And then in 1980, that was again, as much as the success we've had with the other teams, that to me was our most stacked team we ever had. As y'all see, my mom put up there Alfred Jenkins, William Andrews, and Steve Barkowski, Lynn Kane, Wallace Francis, Alfred Jackson, Junior Miller, and that offensive line with RC Thielman and Jeff Van Note, Mike Ken. That was some good teams. And then Lehman Bennett actually went 5-4. That was the strike season that year, and we still ended up going to the playoffs, and we lost the first game. And if I'm not mistaken, memory serves me correctly, I think that was Minnesota that we lost to. Was it Minnesota? Is it? Yep, Minnesota. Memory is better than I thought it was. Funeral services in the house. What's going on? How you doing today? Hope everything is going well for y'all on this Monday again. Antonio says the 1991 Game 7 World Series didn't hurt like that Super Bowl because we lost in an all-time great pitching duel, Jack Morris versus John Smoltz. Huh. I don't know about that because if you remember at that time, we still had yet to have um, a championship in this city. That was kind of a little bit of a painful loss in game 7. I hear what you're saying about all time. See, at that time, though, remember, we didn't have the luxury of knowing 30 years later that game would still stand up like it does now. In other words, when Jack Morris was pitching against John Smoltz, there was no way that we knew 30 years from now, they still consider that to be one of the top 2 or 3 games of all time. And especially if you know you're only one pitch, one Lonnie Smith oops away from winning the championship. Oh, I gotta disagree with you on that, man. That's that hurt. That one hurt a little bit, not a lot of bit. Even though, of course, we went on to win 4 years later, but nah, that was a painful one. It wasn't it wasn't Falcons Patriots for the mere fact that at that time we already had a Braves championship, so I think it may not have hurt as much, but oh, it's pretty close. David says, yeah, Kit Herbert pulled Ron Gant off the base. Yeah, I know that was one of those. Back if they would have had replay back then, probably would have been a different story. I go back to the um, where they deked Lonnie Smith on thought the ball wasn't catchable or something, and that was just a tough loss. And then Charlie Lee Brandt unfortunately gets uh yeah, gets the blame at the end of the game, but that wasn't his fault. Smokes had pitched his heart out as much as he could. But yeah, that was a painful one, y'all. That was don't underestimate that. That was absolutely a painful loss when you talk about, you know, how that ended up. Speaking of painful losses, the Washington Nationals do defeat the Atlanta Braves at 8-4. Uh, Good news is San Francisco is beating up on the Phillies right now, the same score, 8-4. I'm not as worried right now, really, about the Braves. Again, we got way too much season left um, to be totally concerned. Even without Ronald Acuna, this is still a playoff team. It might not be the odds-on favorite now, but it's definitely still a pretty solid team. And even with that loss, the Braves are still 4.5 games up in the wild card as the number one wild card in the National League. So don't lose hope, y'all. It's still got a little bit of ways to go. Well, I am going to end up here because I want to check out to see if Boston can close the deal. I'm telling y'all, uh, the Dallas Mavericks, man, they are on a roll. And Ant Man, you might have the slam of the year, but you and Cat better bring your game because I think the brooms are coming out tonight for Boston and tomorrow. Well, tonight in Indianapolis and tomorrow in Dallas, if you ask me. So we'll see how that turns out. Again, thank you all for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Had a good Monday Minutia. Hopefully, we can get you guys on the Friday brunch this week. We will see if we can sneak that in there and catch you guys later on. Until then, everyone enjoy the last bit of the holiday schedule tonight. You know we got to start this thing back up tomorrow on Tuesday. So y'all enjoy yourself. take these last couple of hours, eat them last leftover ribs that y'all know y'all got left in the oven. And everybody enjoy the evening. Take care of yourself. All right. See ya.